Hey guys, it's Fondant. Today I've come up with a piano cake. It's not actually a piano cake, it's just a doll playing a piano, so it doesn't look anything like a piano, but then it can be called a piano cake. So I first saw this on Instagram. It looked really cool. It was just a random tutorial. I tried it out as soon as I saw it, and at the first time I just used two same pans, but then it did not come out good. So the bottom layer is going to be a bigger pan and the top layer is going to be a smaller pan. We're going to bake the cakes in it, and I'm also going to show you how to make the cakes using a cake mix. It's really simple. If you want, you can go ahead and use any recipe from scratch. I have so many recipes for chocolate and vanilla cakes. I'll leave links in the description down below if you want to go check out any of them and use it. But then I'm just going to use a cake mix. Cake mix are really simple to make, and they're also delicious. They're really spongy also, so you can try them if you want. The bottom cake, which is going to be the seat for the doll, is going to be a milk chocolate cake, which is of 9.5 inch, and the top layer, which is going to be the piano, it's going to be white chocolate cake, which is of 9 inch. You can take any measurement that you want, but then there should be a difference between both the cake layers, at least half an inch. Only then it is going to be perfect cake. So if you want, you can take a 6 inch cake and a 6.5 inch, or you can take an 8 inch cake or an 8.5 inch. Anything will do fine, but there should be a difference of half an inch. I'm going to be using whipped cream frosting to cover the full cake, but if you want, you can go ahead and use buttercream frosting. I'm just using whipped cream frosting because it tastes better, and I'll leave a link in the description down below to my stabilized whipped cream recipe, so you can try that out. And then I'm going to use some fondant in this cake. That's going to be the piano tiles, and also some more decorations in the cake is going to be made out of fondant. If you don't have fondant, you can just use normal whipped cream or buttercream and do the same thing and decorate it. I'm also going to show you how to make the small flowers using the fondant. It's really simple. And then we're going to place the doll, and for the doll I'm not going to use whipped cream frosting or buttercream frosting for its dress. I'm just going to put its normal dress, but if you want, you can go ahead and cover it with some whipped cream or buttercream frosting. Anything will do fine. So it's a really simple cake. Without any further ado, let's get on to making it. I'm going to start by making my cake layers. For that, here I have my cake mix. These are Betty Crocker Super Moist Cake Mix. One is milk chocolate cake and the other one is a white cake. You can go ahead and use a dark chocolate or a vanilla, any cake mix you want. It's totally up to you and your preference. Here I have a milk chocolate and a white cake. So the milk chocolate is going to be the bottom layer, which is going to be the seat for the doll, and the white cake is going to be the piano case. So you can use any cake mix you want, any brand will do fine, and you can just flip it over and you'll see the measurements, instructions, oven timing, the degree heat, everything will be there. So just follow the instructions and it's gonna come out perfect. So here on top I have all my measurements, and on the bottom I have the instructions. It's just 3 steps that they say. And I'm gonna start making the cake mix. Here I have all my ingredients measured out for the milk chocolate cake: 275 ml of water, 80 ml of oil, and 3 eggs. I'm gonna start by cracking the eggs into the bowl. In my cake mix, I had both the cup measurements and the liquid measurements. So in most cake mix, it's supposed to be there. But if you just don't have, use the cup measurements or the liquid measurements. Just go according to the package instructions and just follow it. Here I'm gonna put all of my cake mix into the water, oil, and the eggs and just start mixing it. I'm gonna slowly fold it with a spatula first so that there's no big mess, and then I'm gonna switch to a whisk. So I did a mistake. I did not sift it. That's the reason it looks lumpy, but that's fine. But always remember, when you're using a cake mix, sift it, because it's not pre-sifted. I forgot to sift it. I'm gonna scrape down the sides now, and here my batter is ready. I'm gonna pour it into my baking pan. So as I told, this is a 9.5 inch baking pan. The top layer is gonna be of 9 inch only, and this is gonna be 9.5 inch. I'm gonna pour the full cake batter into it. If your pan is a bit too small, then make sure you fill it only around 3/4 full. If you fill it all the way through the top, it's gonna leak out and it's gonna be a big mess. Then I'm gonna keep it into a preheated oven, and mine had degrees in it, so I'm just going according to it. It also had the timing, so I'm gonna keep it in the oven for that much time. Next, I have all my ingredients measured out. For the white cake mix, 3 eggs, then 80 milliliters of oil and 275 milliliters of water. So go according to the instructions of your cake mix. So the difference between a vanilla cake and a white cake is that in a vanilla cake you use egg yolks, but in white cake, as it is really white, you don't want the egg yolks in it because that's gonna change the colors. So that's the only difference. That's the reason I'm gonna separate the egg yolks from the whites as it was instructed in the cake mix. After that, I'm gonna combine all of the ingredients with the cake mix, the water, oil and the egg whites. I'm gonna put all of the cake mix in, and I'm gonna fold that again just so that there's no mess, and I'm gonna switch to a whisk later. And as I told you, I forgot to sift it, so make sure you sift it every time you use it. It's a little lumpy just because of that. So you can see this batter is really white, unlike a vanilla cake mix, and this is how it is supposed to be. There shouldn't be yolks. I'm gonna scrape down the sides and pour it into my baking pan. Here I have my parchment lined baking pan. This is of 9-inch, and I'm gonna pour the cake mix into the baking pan. So in this one, I'm just gonna pour a little bit, not all the way through, because I want a smaller cake for the piano. The top layer is gonna be a bit more smaller. That means it is gonna be a shorter cake than the bottom layer. So I'm gonna pour only around half of the batter and tap it quite a few times. Keep it into the oven for the time it is told to be baking, and after it's baked, I'm gonna take it out. Make sure you completely cool it before taking it, or else there are chances the cake will fall apart. You need to completely cool it, and I'm gonna take it out of the pan. So always make sure you insert a skewer and check whether it's fully baked. Here the cake is really tall, and that's done. I'm gonna keep this overnight in the refrigerator because cake mix are really soft. That's the reason these cakes fall apart really easily. I want the cake to set really well, and only after that I'm gonna use it. And the advantage of keeping it one full day in the refrigerator is that it develops more flavors, so it's gonna be really tasty. Also, the cake is gonna get a little bit more thickened, so it doesn't fall apart very easily. Here I'm taking off my white cake also. It's perfectly baked. You can see that it's really white. I'm going to take off the parchment paper and let this also set in the refrigerator for one day really well. And as you can see, my white cake is shorter than the milk chocolate cake. That is because I want the piano layer to be shorter. I'm going to show you everything later when I'm doing the carving for this cake. So after one day, I've took it out. It's really stiff now. And now I'm going to show you the measurements. My white cake is of 18 centimeters, which is going to be around 8.5 to 9 inch. So I'm going to take this cake and make it into half, but not equal halves. One is going to be a smaller half and the other is going to be a bigger half. So I'm going to cut one at 7 and the other one is going to be the bigger layer. I'm going to cut one slice at 7 centimeters so that one is a smaller one, just like this. And let me show you how it is. I'm going to keep this cake on top of the bigger layer, so this is going to be the space where we're going to keep our piano tiles, and the top part is going to be for the decoration, and the space in between is going to be for the piano tiles. And this big chocolate cake, I'm going to cut that into 2 layers because I want a little bit of frosting inside. That's going to be a little bit more tastier. So I'm going to cut it through inside, and it's always better to use a thread for this because it really works out really easily and you get flat and even layers. But before that, I'm going to use a knife and go around the sides and make a mark so that the thread can go inside through that place. And I'm just going to pull the thread so the thread will cut through and you have 2 equal layers. There it is, all the carving is done. Now I'm going to get on to frosting it. Here I have my first layer of cake. I'm going to flip it over, the top side at the bottom. Brush it with sugar syrup. You might be wondering why I'm brushing it with sugar syrup. It's not for it to get more sweet. It's for it to get a little bit more spongier and softer. Of course, this cake is already really spongy, but then we're gonna put a little bit more of the sugar syrup so that it's really spongy. And then I'm gonna start spreading my layer of whipped cream frosting. So try to get away all the crumbs as possible, but if there is a little, that's fine. Then keeping the top layer of the cake bottom side up this time, and again brushing it with sugar syrup to make it soft and moist. Then I'm gonna put a little bit of frosting to one side of the cake, just like that, and I'm gonna keep the bigger layer of the white cake, the bigger half of the white cake. There it is. My cake was a little bit tilted, so I just went ahead and carved it a little to make a perfect circle. I have no idea why it came like that, but that's fine, you can always fix it. So that's done, and now I feel like the white cake is a little bit too tall, so I'm just gonna trim it off a little bit. It is sometimes gonna be a mess, but then it's fine, there's always a way. Just keep carving until you get there. So I'm just gonna make the white cake a little bit more smaller and shorter. I don't want it to be really big. I'm gonna take off all the crumbs, brush it with sugar syrup again to make it moist. I'm gonna keep the cake on top and show you. So you can see I've cut the top layer also out to the same size of the bottom white cake. Before that, I'm just gonna spread out some frosting in the middle of the layer. Really thick layer of frosting. And then I'm gonna keep the layer of cake. It was too soft, that's the reason it broke apart, but that's fine. And here the structure of the cake is ready. The final layer to be simple syruped. And I'm gonna clean out all the crumbs and get back again. So here the structure of the cake is ready. Now all we have to do is crumb coat and then chill it. So crumb coat is just a very thin layer of frosting that coats all the crumbs into the cake with the frosting, and after we chill it, the crumbs are not going to be seen anymore. You don't want the crumbs to be there in the final coat. That's the reason we're doing the crumb coat, especially when it is cakes that is to be carved. There's going to be a lot of crumbs, so just make sure you crumb coat it really well. So the cake is crumb coated. I'm going to keep this in the refrigerator for at least 5 hours. And meanwhile, I'm going to make the fondant decorations. So here I have my fondant. I have pre-colored fondant, but if you want, you can go ahead and use normal white fondant and just use your own food coloring and color it. That's going to be best because you can color it to a variety of colors that you want. And when you're coloring fondant, always make sure you use gel food coloring. So what I've done is pretty much just rolled out a nice thick piece of fondant and then cut it with a cookie cutter or something you want, a round cookie cutter. And then you're going to keep the circle edge facing on top and the bad edge can face towards you. Just press in each side. You're going to overlap these fondant circles. And after you overlap it, you're going to start rolling it. you're going to start rolling it over and over on top of each of the fondant overlapping, and here you can see it has come to a nice little pattern. So you can just lay out all those petals a little bit more and press it outside so it will look more like a rose. Just press it outside, and here I have another extra piece of fondant which I'm gonna just stick it out on the side. I'm gonna keep doing this until I get to a nice shape and I feel like it looks like a flower. So here it is almost done. You can see the flower is ready. It doesn't look that perfect, but then I feel it's gonna be good enough for a decoration. It's a really easy method to make. You can try it out. That's it, and the flower is made. So I'm just gonna keep going again and again. You can stop right there. I'm gonna keep going until it gets a little bit more bigger and it looks better. So I feel like I should stop now. Now you can see a lot of excess on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch and cut off the excess. So here the flower is going to be ready and you can stick it right into the cake. I've also made a few more flowers just the same way. And I'm going to make more. So here I have the orange one. I'm going to lay out all the circles the same way, overlapping, and just roll it out. Now push it towards the edges a little bit more. And stick out some more extra pieces just so that it looks a little bit more bigger. And there, the orange flower is also ready. So my fondant decorations are ready. Meanwhile, I've got my cake chilled for at least 5 hours so that all the crumbs are sealed, and now I can start frosting this cake fully. So in this layer of frosting, make sure you don't get any crumbs. You want it to be a really smooth coating. So if you're in a place which has a very hot climate, then what you can do is you can use buttercream. That's going to be better than whipped cream because whipped cream melts really fast. So you can go ahead and use buttercream if you want. So here my cake is fully frosted and I'm going to do some decorations. Here I have some whipped cream that is colored. I'm just going to go around the sides just like that. And after that's done, I'm going to place the piano tiles just the same way. This is also fondant, but if you don't have fondant at home, you can go ahead and do this with whipped cream. You can just color your whipped cream in black color and just pipe on. After that, I'm going to keep the fondant decorations which we made, the flowers. And here the cake is mostly ready. The final thing to keep on is the doll, which is going to be playing the piano. Just put her hands onto the piano tiles. And here the cake is ready. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you liked it, and if you did, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up down below. Also subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Thanks once again, and bye bye.